everyone, I'm Nick from nextstepnick.com and today we're going to talk a bit about 7th Sector. Now, full disclosure, I received a code from the developer. I've been playing this on the PS4. Had a good time with it, but I'll always try to remain objective. There are some good things that I really like about the game. There's some stuff I think could do with improving. I think there's just some quality of life issues here and there. But we're going to go over that a bit more in depth. We're going to talk about exactly what this game is. One thing I really wanted to highlight though is this is the first thing you see when the game starts. And the atmosphere that it builds is so good. I mean, the art style really lends itself to this sci-fi dystopian future of... There's like this grottiness, this darkness, this real sort of Neo-Tokyo-esque vibe going on. And I really like it. I think it looks amazing. I couldn't get over the visuals of this. And we will come back to how they do that with the storytelling as well. But what exactly is this? Well, you're playing as a spark or a piece of energy or a piece of data. It's not exactly made clear, actually. You have to play the whole way through the game to understand a bit more about who you are and what you are, because you're kind of drip-fed information through the world around you. You find journal entries and little bits and pieces, and you can kind of look at the environment around you to garner a little bit about what's going on. But what you're basically doing is you're interacting through the world by going through wires, going through televisions, going through different electronical appliances, and basically using tools around you, puzzles around you to solve problems to get to the next area. So it's a bit like a journey for the most part. You can do stuff like you can break light bulbs, you can knock things down from the ceiling to give yourself pathways to travel through. You can utilise puzzles as well to do stuff like start fans, stop fans, jump in through different environments by utilising areas around you and kind of change and adapt things to get through. It is quite linear, so, you know, objects interact in the way they're meant to interact. You don't really have any leeway there. For all intensive purposes, it's basically a puzzle game. For the most part, it is a puzzle game. I think it tells a story in a really interesting way, and I think the puzzles are pretty good for the most part. I do have a couple of little critiques about the puzzles, but we will come back to that later. But you're basically just travelling along. Once you get to the edge of the screen, you move into the next area. There's more puzzles, there's more to solve, there's more to learn. So it's pretty straightforward in that regard. What you can also do is you'll come up against opponents. They tend to be things like cameras that if they see you, send you back to checkpoints. You'll have stuff like here, these red sparks. If they catch you, they'll send you back to the checkpoint. But you can't really die. You can't really have like achieve a game over per se unless you can't solve a puzzle. So, you know, if you get stuck. But nothing's going to kill you off. You're not going to get to the stage where you have to restart an entire area. You just get sent back to the checkpoint, basically. I think the problem I have with the puzzles, though, as you can see here, this is very, very early on. This is the very start of the game. The only instruction you really get is press X, for example, or hold X. Or sometimes you'll get something like hold square to go faster. Or, you know, you'll get a very basic instruction. And that means that sometimes you don't really know what you're doing. There were a lot of points where I was going along thinking, okay, well, the logical thing here is I need to get from X to Y. But then you don't really realise that there's something else at play. Or the puzzles, for example, they're not always that clear. It's difficult, and I like that in a way. I like the fact that you do have to kind of work out the world around you on your own. But at the same time, I think it can be a little bit intimidating because you're not really sure what things do a lot of the time. You've got these puzzles, a lot of them, well, the majority, to be honest, are numeracy based. So here, I have to make the number 220 utilising these lights, and then when that happens, I'm allowed to pass on to the next part of the area, I'm allowed to move on, basically like unlocking an area. Same thing with like lightning puzzles and stuff, but to put in perspective what I mean, you might see a little block just above the lightning symbol with like white squares around it and blue in the middle. That's the picture you're trying to make, and these fuses I'm lighting up have those little icons on. They're really small. They're really small. I completely missed them the first time I was doing this. I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing, and I brute forced a puzzle. Later on, they come up, and I realised that was the case. And same thing with a lot of these puzzles. I didn't really know what I was doing at first. And I suppose that's good in a way, because you do kind of figure things out on your own, and there wasn't really a point I got stuck. There was a point where I'd kind of had enough, and I think that's the problem, is it does get a bit wary, especially if you don't like maths. This kind of stuff, you know, easy peasy really, we've seen it before. It doesn't do anything completely different than everything we've seen before, but when you get to the more maths orientated puzzles and stuff like this, for example, it can be a bit infuriating. Here I've got to be crouching through and avoiding these televisions, but I can't really tell when they're going to go live. And of course, I've never really sprinted yet. I've only moved quickly as a little light source, so I had no idea you could sprint here. It's stuff like that where you kind of look at a puzzle, you understand what you're meant to do, but rather than thinking, okay, I've got to solve a puzzle, you think, oh, what am I meant to be doing? You know, you spend a long time figuring out what the puzzle even is. Here, it's just a numeracy puzzle, and it's interesting, but at the same time, you know, I wasn't that into it. This one now that you can see is one of the most egregious things, because the patterns above, as far as I can tell, don't do anything. They pop up and there's a little beep noise, like a dirt noise. I'll put in a little clip here of this. So you'll hear like a buzz, a dirt. If you press X when that happens, it will just activate the next light. When you get 4 lights, you can move through to the next area. And the problem is that I was looking at the patterns, I had no idea how to do this, because I was thinking, well, hang on, the lights must mean something, you know, when the lights come on, it's when I'm pressing the button, when certain shapes are on, maybe I need to discern a certain pattern, but no, you just press X when it makes the noise, and that really frustrated me, because it wasn't something that I could work out through, you know, it wasn't a logic puzzle, but it was just like a case of trying everything until something stuck, and I'd much rather it be something where I feel a bit smarter. But this does lead me to something I love about the world, is that things aren't really told to you in regard to storytelling either. So if you see in the background, you can see the guy in the bath. There's some really amazing atmospheric choices here. A lot of the things you find out are through these little diary images that you find in memory hubs. You like download them, they give you like a little image, and that tells you a bit more about the world. Or it might be a little image of 2 people talking, and you can kind of piece bits of story together from that. And I really liked that. I thought it was great. And just in general, I think the world is so amazing. I really, really love this world. I mean, sure, we've got this puzzle in the front. You've seen that before, of course. Same number as well, actually. But I think the world in general, you know, these cars behind us, the rain coming down, those neon signs, and that kind of Zeppelin-esque thing just moving across the sky. I love it. I think it's such a beautiful game. There's a moment here, for example, where you can see storytelling happening through the window displays in the background. You've got a family sitting down for dinner. Later on, you have 2 lovers having an argument and they're embracing. You've got these posters in the background that are telling you more about what's going on in the world. You've got this television here. If you interact with it, it's like a trophy thing. But as well as that, it just helps to add to that feeling of this weird futuristic world where you're kind of a stranger. It's like being on the train and whizzing past loads of apartments. You get like a little glimpse of life. You get to just peer in on these lives happening around you, and I really, really liked that. I love that feeling of being in a strange place, being that intruder to a world that we don't understand. I mean, even here, whilst I'm solving this puzzle, you can see the guy on the back roof there. The police come to apprehend him, and it's great. I had so much thought and feeling about this world around me. I wanted to know more about all these people. I want to know why these stories are unfolding. And I love it. I think as a storytelling medium, it's fantastic. The only thing I would say is with the puzzles, maybe put in a bit more in regard to hints. You can figure stuff out, but, you know, maybe even just a mode that's a little bit easier for some people, because if you're tired, it can be a bit much, and it can be a bit of a struggle to play in long periods, you know, for a long extended period. But anyway, that was 7th Sector. Thank you for listening, guys. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you do enjoy my videos, and head over to nextstepnick.com for all the latest news, reviews and articles. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again very soon.